The Biden administration shifted its strategy. It then said, well, we know there's a crisis at the border, but we don't have any authority to fix it. That didn't work either, because the American people aren't cell deep stupid. So now he has decided to tell you that he has been born again. He has had an epiphany. He is now a border hawk. And that's what he wants you to report. Look, you can cut the hypocrisy with a knife. You know, I have seen the good side of politics, but I've also seen the dark side. It is insulting. It is cheap. It is contemptuous. The American people see that. And I hope you do too.
It has been nearly 3 years since President Biden put Vice President Harris in charge of addressing the open southern border that we have. And now we have this executive order that President Biden wants us to believe is going to fix this. It just shows how unserious he is about addressing and securing our southern border. President Biden isn't addressing the crisis. He's maintaining a catastrophe. Since he's been in office, he has allowed all the Trump-era policies that worked so successfully to either go away, not enforced, or he's repealed them. In his first 100 days of office, he had issued 94 executive orders. President Trump built 500 miles of wall. President Biden stopped that with his executive order. He is endangering our country, and the American people will not be fooled by this political ploy.
Too little, too late. Mr. President, Joe Biden, this is too little, this is too late, and the American public knows it's too late. This stunt is not going to save your political life. Thanks to you, the 11 million people that have crossed this border illegally, this is now the #1 defining issue of this presidential election. Today, I address everybody here with a concerned heart and a deep sense of urgency. You know, concerned for the fact that families don't feel safe anymore in the state of Kansas. For over 3 years, this administration has treated our national security and sovereignty as mere afterthoughts. Our borders have been left vulnerable and the safety of our citizens compromised. And here we stand just 5 months before this critical election, with Joe Biden and the Democrats grasping for a political lifeline. Their recent announcement is nothing more than a desperate ploy to distract from their failures. But let me be once again unequivocal. This is too little, too late. Policy, this is a betrayal of the American people by the White House. It's high time we demand accountability and real solutions to secure borders and protect our nation. Thank you.
As my colleagues have stated, we have seen a real crisis in the United States. And why? It didn't have to happen. On day one of his presidency, Joe Biden rolled into the White House, he got into the Oval, and he dismantled everything that President Trump had in place that kept a lid on these illegal border crossings. So now here we are years later, and it has taken 10 million illegal border crossings for President Biden to step up and acknowledge that there is a crisis at the border. And you know what, folks? It's his own making. He really could have used his authority all along. We all know that. And yet he chose to do absolutely nothing about it. So why is he doing it now? Well, folks, you don't have to be that intelligent to see what's going on. We have an election just a few months away. And this is the #1 issue across the United States, for us to actually see something done about it.
Thank you, Senator Cornyn. Thank you for your leadership on this issue. The American people are living the results of this open border. Every town is a border town. Every state is a border state. And it is all because Joe Biden's border policy is an open border. And we have seen that from day one. Just look at the 94 executive actions that he took in his first 100 days. 94 that opened up the border and made legal immigration more difficult and opened the way for illegal immigration. Indeed, you could say that one of the focuses of this administration has been to make illegal legal, that President Trump had handed over to him, and turning it into an open border where we do not know who is coming into the country or the reason that they are coming into the country.
Joe Biden and the Democrats have presided over a criminal invasion of the United States of America. We are facing the worst illegal immigration our nation has ever seen. 11 million illegal immigrants have come in, invited by the Democrats. When Joe Biden came into office, he inherited the lowest rate of illegal immigration in 45 years. All he had to do was nothing. Just sit there and stare at the wall. But instead, he deliberately broke the system. This chart on the right shows when Biden came into office, you had historic lows the instant he was sworn in. The numbers skyrocketed. It went from the lowest rate in 45 years to today, the highest rate in the history of our nation. This is deliberate. Now today, President Biden and the Democrats have a press conference. And here's what they're announcing. He could have stopped this every single day of his presidency. When he signs this executive order, the only question anyone should ask is, why didn't you do this in 2021? Why didn't you do this in 2022? Why didn't you do this in 2023? Why didn't you do this last month or the month before or the month before? How many dead bodies is enough? Now, understand what is going on here. This is election year politics. And by the way, we've seen this game before. Apparently the Democrats have one playbook, which is create a crisis, and then a couple of months before the election, do something very mild to address the crisis and say, see, problem solved. We saw this with gas prices. Right before the last election, gas prices had doubled. People were hurting. And what did he do? Right before the election, he releases oil from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. Gas prices fell a little bit. And they victory lap that they've reduced gas prices a tiny bit from the massive historic highs they've had. We also saw this on student loans. Last election, right before the election, what does Joe Biden do? He says, I'm giving away $1 trillion to young people. By the way, young people, come vote for Democrats now. Now, he knew he was lying to them. He knew what he was doing was illegal. He knew the Supreme Court would strike it down, and of course it did. This is the same game. What they are announcing is they're going to issue an executive order that normalizes illegal immigration at 4,000 people a day. 4,000 people a day is 1.5 million a year. And understand on this chart, I'm actually going to pull this chart over here because what they're doing is unusually cynical. He came in here. The numbers skyrocketed here. 4,000 a day is 120,000. So we're right here. He's proposing to lower it to right here. To lower it just a bit. And then to play the same game he played on gas prices. Say, look at the great victory. And by the way, if God forbid Joe Biden is reelected, the number will go from 120 back up to here. Because this is what they want. The Democrats want that invasion. And the police officers being shot, the young women being murdered, the children being raped, they're unwilling to stand up and protect them. It's immoral, it's wrong, and what the White House is doing today is they're just playing a political game.